Welcome. In this video, we'll be talking about how to recognize and calculate formal charges. Now, calculating formal charges is actually really easy. All it is just plugging in the numbers that you already know into a formula. That formula is represented by the group number minus the lone pair of electrons minus half of the bonding electrons. Let's try to practice with some examples. If we take methane, and we want to calculate the formal charge for methane, we just write it out again, which is the group number minus the lone pair electrons minus half of the bonding electrons. So if we want to plug that into the formula, so carbon is in group 4. We want to subtract that with its lone pair electrons, which, as you can see, it has no lone pair electrons, so minus 0. And now it has 2, 4, 6 bonding electrons. So you want to do 6 divided by 2 because we're taking half of them. So it ultimately becomes 4 minus 3, which equals positive 1. That's your formal charge of the carbon. And that makes sense because we have the positive charge right here. If we want to go to another example, we can take cyanide. And again, for all of these structures, every time you see something, if you see cyanide written as that, you're going to want to draw out your structure. You want to make sure that you can draw it out and you know what it is that you're looking at. So, if we want to take this, if we want to take the formal charge of carbon first, what you want to do is you want to take its group number minus its lone pair electrons minus half of its bonding electrons. If you do that, it comes down to 4 minus 2 minus 3, which is 4 minus 5, which equals negative 1. This makes sense because we see the negative charge on the carbon right here. Now if we want to do the formal charge for nitrogen, take its group number, subtract the lone pair electrons, and then subtract half of the bonding electrons. So then you ultimately have 5 minus 2 minus 3, which is 5 minus 5. That equals 0. And this makes sense because nitrogen has no charge on it. It's as easy as that. Okay, so let's try with some of the questions you may see on the MCAT or on some of your exams. Again, the first thing you're always going to want to do is draw out your structure. So let's do the first one here. You have CO2. Just draw out your structure. And then you want to do the formal charge of the carbons. So you're going to put the group number minus the lone pair electrons minus half of the bonding electrons. So you just end up having 4 minus 4, which equals 0. And again, that makes sense because you don't see any charges on the carbon. So we'd immediately know it's not D, E, C, or F. We're going to take the next one. Alright, and then we're going to do the formal charge of that carbon. Take the group number minus its lone pair electrons minus half of its bonding electrons. We're going to end up with 4 minus 2 minus 3, which is 4 minus 5, which just equals negative 1. Again, this makes sense because of the negative. So if we know the second one is negative, we know it's not B, and your answer is going to be A. And we already drew this one with your methane before, so you know it's going to be positive anyway. Let's try with one more example here. So you're going to want to draw out your structures. If we want to do these of the oxygens, you have your formal charge of your first oxygen. You're going to take its group number. You're going to subtract its lone pair electrons. Subtract it from half of its bonding electrons. So you have 6 minus 1, which is 6 minus 7, which equals -1, which again makes sense because you have negative there. So you know your answer is not going to be E, B, A, or F. Then you take your second, or we can even do the last one just because it's a little easier to draw out, save some space. Alright, take your formal charge. Doesn't really matter which one you take it out of because it's symmetrical right down the middle. So your formal charge is going to be group number minus its lone pair electrons minus half of its bonding electrons. So you're going to have 6 minus 4 minus 2, which is just going to come out to 0, which again makes sense because there is no charge on any of those oxygens. So your answer is not going to be C, your answer is going to come out to be D, because the first one has that negative charge and the last one has that neutral charge. That's all there is to it. That's how you calculate formal charge. If you found this video helpful, check out some of our other videos on our channel. You can get an A in OChem. We are here to help. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.